Hello and welcome to today's session on Todoist, how to use this tool as a way to get ready for the new semester. We are using the free version of Todoist today. Todoist does have a paid version and a free version. Honestly, the free version is a very comprehensive and in-depth resource. So either way, it's a great place to put all of your academic classes in one spot. Having said that, you do need to make an account. So this here, I'm already logged in. We have a blank Todoist and we are ready to go. So over here on the left-hand menu bar, we have a section titled My Projects. Under that, so I'm going to start with clicking on this plus. Normally I would go right to add project, but I do want to start by looking at the second option here, browse templates. There are several pre-made templates here. On the left-hand side here, if I click on education, they have class planning, student planning. Taking a quick look at class planning, you can use this template and you already have some headings and some structure. Having said that, this is not exactly what I want to use, so I'm going to go over here to my projects and I am going to add a new project. We're going to start with econ. We'll do the all caps. We're going to add a specific color for this. We're going to do green, the color of money for econ. And my projects is where it is. This is the parent project and it's just for me. The first important decision here is we can use two different layouts. List is what the template we were just looking at was in. For this one, I'm going to do a board format. The third option, calendar, is for the premium account. So that's a great format, which is why you have to pay to get it. But let's take a look at this board, which is super, again, kind of easy to use and comprehensive. Right now it's totally blank, but I want to use these boards to create a list of what I need to do for the week. So I'm going to name this section week of, we'll say February 1st. So we'll do next week. Basically, if you can see when I hover over this, we have this little board that's a little rectangle, and we can add another section next to it. So for this, if I want to look at these week by week, I can label this as week of 1/25. And we can keep going. We can click on this third one and do week of the 8th. You can keep going or you can delete. I'm going to delete this one by clicking on these three dots, getting rid of it. Yes, get rid of it. We can also, I put these in out of order, we can drag these and move them around, which makes this super easy to use, super easy to edit. Let's take a look then at how we can add our assignments. One aspect of Todoist I quite like is that you can go in and add a lot of information right away. If I have a lot of content, let's say this is a Tuesday, Thursday class, and maybe I have a reading for Thursday, and then maybe I also have a discussion post for Thursday. We're just going to write discussion post for now. I can just, all I did was type reading, press enter, type discussion post, press enter. So this is great if you need to add some quick items. So I can write begin test prep and go back and add the details later. It makes it super convenient for a brain dump if you're a little scattered in terms of getting things together, but then we can go back and add more information. So let's start with this reading. if we click on this, this will allow us to give more dates. So for reading, I know more details, so I'm going to change this to read chapter 4. And I have to save that, that would help. And then we're going to add the date. That is for Thursday. So I can put in a specific time as well. For now, I'm just going to leave it for Thursday. But you can also, as you see here, there's sort of these options for today, tomorrow, this weekend, which can be really helpful. So we are going to stick with that. Discussion post is a little more high stakes, we'll say. We're going to add that to Thursday. We'll come back to the priority later. And then begin test prep. This is more open-ended. I really want to do that this weekend, so maybe I will add that as this weekend. And if I add something in that way, it will automatically put it on Saturday, which I find quite helpful. And then I can also add things for next week. So typically I'm probably only going to know my homework for 1 week at a time, and then I might have a sense of when my major assignments are. So all I'm going to add for next week is, we'll say we have test 1, and that is on Thursday, February 5th. So we have this assignment. If I want to break down what I want to do more in depth, I can click in here and go to subtasks. So that's a great way to kind of get a sense of structure and help unpack what I actually need to do. And again, with this, I can type information in, hit enter, and it will make new items. So if I want to review lecture notes, practice test 1, practice test 2, create cheat sheet. So for each of those, I just went in and hit enter again as an easy way to brainstorm, but I can kind of once again add the date, I can add the information. So if I want to review my lecture notes this weekend, or next week rather, and do practice test this weekend, that's going to be a great way, and then practice test 2. So that's a great way to kind of shorthand it. Or alternately, I can kind of go back and edit this so that I'm going to say I'm going to review econ lecture notes. So it's pretty easy to edit things, to update things, and move them around, which I quite appreciate. Let's say you have a recurring assignment. So if we want to make this recurring for every Thursday, we can add repeat. And we can add every week on Thursday in order for it to repeat. This is great because then you don't have to re-enter it. What I don't love about this particular feature is that it won't auto-populate until this one is complete. If I were to get rid of it there, then you would see it would have next occurrence February 5th. So that is one great smart feature. Something else that you can do instead of checking this off, what I might do is just move this over here. I think that that is a really easy way to make sure that I am staying on top of things, but I'm not typing as much. So that's what I quite like about these. This view is the ease of moving things around, and it's super great for a visual learner. So that's our first view, the board view. I'm going to show you the other main way to look at projects, which is the list view. Once again, I'm going over to my projects, clicking plus clicking on Add Project. For this, we're going to do Spanish. And for Spanish, we're going to do, let's do red. And this, we're going to make sure it's clicking on list. Great. So we're going to start with, again, what do I have to do quickly? Just write it out, worksheet. What else do I have to do? I have a presentation. I have a reading. I've been adding these assignments quickly because that's often what I do more intuitively, but I can also add all of the information up front. So if, for example, I have an essay due, if I want to add the date here before entering it, I can. This essay is due February 3rd. If I want to add priority, I can do that here. Or I can go back and edit as I've done before. Or I can also just hover and put set date here. So if this is worksheet due Wednesday, if this presentation is due Friday. So there, what we have is sort of a better sense of how everything's falling. What you can do is add information as a subtopic. So again, we have add task for the essay, we need to brainstorm, outline, draft, edit. We can move these within a task. There we go. You just kind of drag it, click and drag to make it this subtask. And then if we want to help planning by scheduling out the date, we can do that by again clicking on the calendar and adding when we want to work on this. So this weekend, and then if we say edit on Monday. So that can be really helpful. And then the subtasks view, you can click this arrow to bring them down, make them appear above. So something else really interesting about this is that by clicking, so if this is what my view looks like, by clicking down here, sort of towards the bottom, first I have to hover, we get this option for add section. And if we add a section here, we can make these more than just assignments, but break them down more in depth. So for example, if I wanted this to be week of, 1-25, and then maybe another section I want is week of 2-1. We can do this retroactively. We can add this worksheet here, this presentation here, and then we can add this reading here and this essay here. So if we want to make this, oh well, there, I accidentally made it a subtask there. So if I want to keep that small versus big, I can just kind of keep it more focused. And another way to do this is if instead of weeks, I wanted to do homework or major assignments, that is a really good way to structure them based on assignment type. So homework, I might put this worksheet and this reading, and then here under major assignments, I might put presentation and essay. So that way I can kind of see homework for 1 week, and then major assignments are there, but not necessarily something I need to focus on all the time. So a lot of freedom in terms of how we are structuring this. Speaking of which, that is another way to structure these projects. Maybe for econ and Spanish, I just want this to be a list of my homework for each class. It should be noted too that if you have a reading, you can attach it here. So we can use it to make our class centers, or we can do it to create just a sense of everything big in one place. Here, if we have add project, maybe I want to do one for major assignments. So those are going to be my big deadlines, and we already used red. Let's use magenta. I want to use something bright. We're going to do list for this. So for this, what I could do is just put in all of my major deadlines for each of my classes. So if I wanted to put philosophy, essay, due February 10th. And then maybe we could do theology essay, do February 13th. That can be a great way to just have a sense of big assignments next to each other. I don't necessarily need to make a tab for this depending on how I use priority. So I want to take a look now that we've kind of shown how to set up your base projects at some of the other options, the views over here in the left-hand menu. So let's start with the inbox. Inbox is a really interesting Todoist feature that really is meant for brain dumping. If you just have a lot of things to do and you just want to write down everything you have going on, this is sort of the place where you can kind of go and type it out. So if I want to just go through, I'll write econ reading, philosophy reading, say email Steve, email prof for philosophy and Spanish worksheet. You can just kind of add everything here and then go back retroactively and update it. So again, we can do kind of click on this to edit the task. We can change the date if we want. What's really important though is what we can do is move this from from inbox to econ. So if we save that, now econ reading has disappeared. And if I click on econ, it's over here under no section, which we could have when we were in the inbox. Perhaps edited it further. We could have added it to econ. Here we'll do Spanish. This is Spanish worksheet. We'll put it under Spanish homework. And then it's gone from the inbox, and here it is as I put it in super messily. So the inbox is great for that, just for kind of getting organized. Today is super helpful because it can show you what you have immediately due. Of course, right now, nothing's due today, but if I add the date for several assignments across several different pages, then that will be a great way to see it all in one place. So I just went through and clicked today, and now when I click on today, we see these 3 items I just updated and where they are all saved on the right-hand side. And as we see the inbox in today, it is kind of featured like email in terms of what's immediate. We have 3 immediate tasks. Upcoming is a really great view to see all of these different projects side by side, where we can see it now day by day. Here's everything Tuesday, everything Wednesday, everything Thursday. And so we can take a look across the next several weeks and see all of these items that we put on sorted by date. So this is one of the best features here that really helps with that view. And then I mentioned before that I don't know that I would need to add all of my major assignments to its own project because of how we use priorities. So let's take a look at filters and labels. And we have a few different filters that we can add. With the free version, there are only 3. But basically, so right now we have automatically. assigned to me. But these are notes that you can add to different tasks so that you can view them differently. So I think priority is a great way of determining what is major versus homework. Right now, we'll see we have one priority, and that's this essay I put is high priority. So how do we edit this? If we go to major assignments, for example, and we edit this task, just by clicking on priority, we can add 1, 2, 3, or 4. Everything is automatically added as priority 4, which means low priority. So you have to decide what is high stakes. And there's levels here. So I would say priority 1 is going to be any essay or test or project. So then if I save them, it turns them red. If for Spanish, for example, we have our worksheets and we make this maybe priority 2. And we'll make this worksheet priority 2 because it's written. Reading, you could leave this as low priority, or we could make this priority 3. So then when I go to filters and labels, if I look at priority 1, it will show all of the major priorities. I have a limited number of filters, so in order to do priority 2, I would need to make one of those priority 2. But I like that priority 1 is already here and easy to use. There's one more feature I wanted to tell you about before I let you set up your own Todoist page. One aspect of Todoist that can be really helpful is you can combine it with other calendars and add the work here to other platforms. Specifically, Google Calendar is one we use a lot. So how we would do this is go up to your settings. So up here, I'm clicking on my user profile and then clicking on settings. And there are 2 options. On the left-hand bar down here, you can click on calendars. And with this, you can connect through the app to Google Calendar, and these items will then appear on your calendar. Depending on how much information you put on them, they might appear as tasks at the top, or they might more appear as events. So that is one way. The way that I prefer is clicking on integrations. So how this works is we have a link here that it has it here for iCal. I do this for Google Calendar. But if you copy this link, you can add it to your Google Calendar, which you can also do on GCal under settings. You copy this and add this as a new calendar. And what I like about that is you can kind of click it on and off as a separate calendar. If you're curious about how to do that, you can take a look at, we have a short on adding your Canvas page to your Google Calendar on our YouTube page, and it's the same method there, just adding a link, very simple. So that is it for our intro to Todoist today. If you have any questions, feel free to add them to the chat. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me today.